Lockdown West, a small station on a restored heritage line in the Yorkshire Dales. Originally a request stop. The original Lockdown station was designed by Midland Railway architect John Holloway Sanders, 2 miles north of here at the nearest point to the village on the existing feeder line. This halt was added when a spur to this line was created in 1894 and remained open until it was subsequently closed, along with the other smaller stations on the line as part of the beaching cuts. This despite sustaining bomb damage in 1942, when the pub acted as a station house for 5 years until rebuilt in 1947. This station has been lovingly restored to close to its original form by volunteers of the Lockdown Heritage Railway, who run trains through here every Friday, Saturday and Sunday in spring through to autumn. As such, this railway is a tourist attraction for the most part. However, Lockdown Quarry has recently reopened as the demand for high quality ballast has risen with the upgrade to existing rail networks. In addition, one bank holiday every year on Lockdown Common, which is located in the valley beneath the viaduct, hosts Lockdownfest. This is a festival of music, art and food, featuring local musicians and artists. More details about the lineup and attractions for this year are available at #LockdownFest. More about the festival in a minute. Albert Baggage, the 90-year-old station master, turns up at 7:30 a.m. sharp every day that trains are running to supervise and ensure that everybody's having a good time. Although he gets about slowly with the help of a stick, he's unstoppable and passionate about the railway and also about cake. Moving on to Lockdown Tunnel, this curves away to the east. It's one of 2 significant architectural challenges that this spur presented. It's similar in construction to other tunnels on the line and runs for 1/4 of a mile beneath the rocky promontory of Lockdown Fell, and is rumoured to be haunted by a ghostly figure at the eastern tunnel mouth. Opposite the station is the Black Horse Public House. Known as the Ferrari locally, this is much more than a place of drinking. The Ferrari is the epicentre of village life in Lockdown. From here you can eat and drink in front of a roaring fire or outside in the picnic area. You can also hire bikes from here, and a small room is devoted to tourist attractions and the village archive. The Rock Climbing Club and Ramblers Association share a club room, and visitors can get bed and breakfast for a modest sum. Bob and Katie Trundle are the licensees of the Black Horse. Bob runs the bar for the most part, and Katie helps out, supervises the kitchen, and is heavily involved in all aspects of village life. Their son Robbie is well known locally as a fell runner. Katie can often be seen around the village doing what she calls community outreach, whilst Bob busies himself with cellar work. Adjacent to the pub is the picnic area. This is a vibrant scene in the summer months, where families come to eat and children play under the old oak tree. Giuseppe makes a roaring trade in his ice cream van, whilst across the car park, Frankie Dobbs provides a valuable service in his chippy van. These guys are local characters, but what they lack in customer service, they make up for with their prices. In the distance you can see Pete Pilkington, the village postman. He's collecting the mail and a coffee that Kate Trundle has made for him as one of her outreach projects. The level crossing is manned by the Lockdown East signal box, which can be seen as we look towards the tunnel mouth. The level crossing is the only way in and out of the village by road, so although old and battered, it is still in service and frequently used by local traffic. Cyclists wait here to be given the all-clear to cross the line, having rented their bikes from the pub. There are numerous winding lanes around Lockdown that cater for both on and off-road cycling. These cottages, formerly miners' cottages, are now Airbnb staycation properties. They are owned and frequented by out-of-towners, but this provides valuable revenue for the village. However, their heavily approach to waste management has led to a skip becoming a permanent feature, and this is a source of friction at parish council meetings. The mighty rolling 6 foot of Lockdown Fell. It stands out from other foliage in the area, and for good reason. This tree was donated to Lockdown and planted in commemoration of the Queen's Silver Jubilee as a sapling in 1977. Walkers pass this mighty tree on the way towards the thicket that marks the start of the track up the fell. The track up the fell is an old sheep herder's track that winds through a thicket and up a steep slope to the rocky crags and scree that lead to the summit. This offers panoramic views of the picturesque village of Lockdown. The sheep belong to a local farmer, and he leaves them to graze on the common land around Lockdown. Halfway up the hill we see the Lockdown Ramblers. This is a newly formed club based in the pub that got together via Facebook after the first lockdown in 2020. These are like-minded individuals who value being out of doors and in the fresh air of the countryside. Whilst they're not a singles group per se, one or two of them are treating the group as such, and this is providing the local gossips with some situationships of interest. The view from the summit of Lockdown Fell, which rises to a dizzying 1,600 feet, is graded at 2C, a medium-length walk that has rugged terrain and some steep climbs, similar to Jenkins Crag in Ambleside. In the summer months, this provides endless options for outdoor pursuits, although cyclists are discouraged during summer months due to the volume of walkers and fell runners. Robbie Trundle is a well-known fell runner and spends a lot of time annoying the walkers with his speedy antics and posturing at the summit. He's gained a reputation for himself for forcing selfies on other fell runners. Lockdown East signal box guards access to both the tunnel and the quarry siding. It looks a little out of place here because it is a red brick construction. This is because it was originally located 60 miles away on the now disused goods line. The volunteers moved the box piece by piece to replace the original structure that fell into ruin in the 1970s. Having sighted the box over the original 1912 cabin location, rumours now abound of a ghostly figure that appears in the mouth of the tunnel to warn of an impending fatality. There is a shadowy figure that lurks here, however the local constabulary identify him as Reggie Ricketts, a local homeless gentleman who frequents the tunnel during times of inclement weather. Moving through the entrance to the quarry, we can see that Lockdown climbing club are out in full swing and enjoying the sunshine on the east face of the quarry wall. This is a regular event and the guys and gals train regularly here for competitions. Although they wouldn't normally wear protective headgear for this type of training exercise, this group wear helmets since the fatality in 1997, where one unfortunate individual, while celebrating a particularly fast descent, was hit by a golf ball and fell to an ironic and unfortunate death. Above the quarry, to the north, is Lockdown Golf Course. Here we can see the ninth hole. The Lockdown leg of the PGA Tour was discontinued after an incident with a climber and a messy lawsuit back in 1997. The Lockdown golfers are just getting back in full swing after having to make repairs to their fairways when dog walkers took over their golf course during Lockdown 2. This has caused a lot of upset and has caused incidences of a fray in the village on some Saturday evenings. Moving through the quarry, the train crosses Lockdown Viaduct before entering the station. Lockdown Viaduct was built to allow quarry trains to cross the valley, and it is an impressive structure. Hundreds of railway builders or navvies lost their lives building the line from a combination of accidents, fights and smallpox outbreaks. In particular, building the Lockdown Viaduct, with its 3 massive brick arches 32 feet above the common, caused such loss of life that the railway paid for an expansion of the local graveyard. Beneath the arches of the viaduct, on the common, you can see that Lockdownfest has started, and the first band are rocking their 30-minute set. These are local lads who write their own music, and like so many other bands, they are just relieved to be back performing on stage, and have told the crowd this for their 3rd time this afternoon. The locals have mixed feelings about the festival, because it brings much needed revenue into the village, but this is accompanied by a seedy undercurrent of sex, drugs and rock and roll. There are also a disproportionate number of unwashed teenagers roaming the village. Revellers feel that they are being judged unfairly and point to the limited bathroom opportunities as a contributory factor. The committee for Lockdownfest are very ambitious in their approach to the festival. Many artists have been invited to Lockdownfest over the years, and these include The Killers, Stereophonics, Kings of Leon, Ed Sheeran and Kylie. All of these have politely declined the invitation, with the exception of Kylie, who said, "You should be so lucky, lucky, lucky." As with all festivals, camping is the accommodation of choice, and this takes many forms. This causes much curiosity within the local wildfowl community. One such avian is Colin. As you can see, local and visiting ragamuffins have left their mark on the architecture. Loz is a well-known miscreant from West Yorkshire who tags wherever she goes. So moving on to train selection. So for train selection 1, we had quite a lot of Hornby rolling stock to choose from. Tons if you include Lima and Airfix models. However, for playability, we wanted to be able to use mixed traffic stock that wouldn't look daft in short form. Modern era locos take up a lot of space and usually head long trains, and with a small loop, short tunnel and a tiny siding, this wouldn't work visually. For the same reason, we reluctantly put aside Flying Scotsman, Britannia and Princess Arthur of Connaught. So we have the beautiful large prairie in BR Black, which allows us to use a single crimson and cream coach to add a splash of colour within the green and grey. For train selection 2, we have a Ginty, also in BR Black, and it looks equally comfortable with a short quarry train or a single coach. And this being a heritage line does not clash too much geographically with the prairie or the modern era road vehicles.